Hey, welcome to my 5th vlog and hope you've all had a great week. My week has been a little bit better. I've started to feel a little bit more human and not quite as ill as I was the past 3 weeks. Still not 100%, but I managed to get into the gym this week, which is a big thing for me, and it already makes me feel better. Just from training and working out, I'm beginning to feel a little bit more like me. Now, last week I actually went to Dubai. Now, I apologize for the lack of footage that I'm showing you, but I just wanted to have a break. Obviously the illness knocked me off my feet a little bit and I just realized that I need a break. So to take the camera around with me while I was doing all my shopping and seeing all the amazing sights that Dubai has to offer, just didn't seem very practical, and I just wanted to enjoy it with my fiance. So had a great few days in Dubai, shopped a lot, ate well, drank a little bit, not too much, but had a really good time. So this week it's back to it and back into the gym and just taking it really light because I'm still not 100%, as I said. So just easing myself back into it. The topic of this week's conversation is a little bit different from the previous 4 weeks of vlogging. It's not gym based or nutrition based or anything like that. This is a little bit more for the guys who are involved in combat sports. And I want to talk about distance and how different fighters control distance and how being able to control distance can make or break the fight that you're in. So first, I want to tell you what I mean about distance. Now, in combat sports, there's usually 2 fighters, and the distance is basically the space between the first fighter and the second fighter. Now, in different combat sports, there are different rules and there's different techniques that you can do. So the distance tends to differ between different sports. For example, in boxing, you can punch. So the safe distance is obviously out of reach of their arm length, because obviously if you're in reach, then you can get hit, and vice versa. If you're close enough, you can hit your opponent. So you'll see many boxers using their lead hand jab as a rangefinder or a way to judge the distance between the opponent. And what they'll sort of work out is if they can hit with a left, they can hit with a right. So once they're in this distance and they're hitting their opponent, they can throw combinations and work. Now, in different combat sports like Taekwondo, for example, where more kicking is used, then obviously the distance tends to be a little bit further apart because the legs are longer than the arms. So you'll see a lot of Taekwondo exponents using their distance, engaging their distance by using the kicks. So they'll be throwing that lead leg up and working out where they need to be so they can then throw the combinations with the other legs as well, and even the punches. So 2 sports, 2 totally different distances. Now, if you watch a lot of combat sports, you'll see that as soon as the fight begins, the 2 fighters almost automatically fall into a set distance away from each other. Now, the way that they gauged and judged that is usually down to quite a lot of experience if they're good exponents. Now, what you need to learn first and foremost is basically your reach. So chances are, if you're a little bit taller, your limbs are longer. So you've got sort of longer reach with your arm, and if you're kicking, longer reach with your legs. And obviously the opposite, if you're a little bit shorter, you might want to be a little bit closer to your opponent before you can actually hit. Now, the next thing that you're going to need to know is the techniques that you're good at, the techniques that your body is good at. Now, if you're a puncher and a kicker, but you tend to favor your legs a little bit more, obviously your legs are longer than your arms, so you could actually increase your distance away from your opponent, because that way you can kick them, and then once you've kicked them, you can work your hands on the way in. Now, if you're a better puncher than you are kicker, then of course you can get a little bit closer and you can start to punch. The next thing you need to know is your opponent. So if your opponent's taller than you, they've got longer reach. So you need to work out what sort of distance you need to have between you and them before they can hit you. And obviously if you're shorter, you perhaps need to work your way in a little bit quicker. The next thing you need to know is your opponent's techniques that they're good at. Are they a kicker? Are they a puncher? Something else that you're going to need to consider when you're trying to gauge the distance with your opponent is basically how fast you are. In other words, the speed that you can cover distance. So if you can cover distance from point A, where you're starting, to point B, where your opponent is and where you need to hit very quickly, then you can be a little bit further away. And that means that your opponent can't hit you, obviously. And then when you choose to hit your opponent, you can get in very quickly and you can hit them. Now, there's one, for those of you that watch MMA, there's one guy in Bellator who stands out at the moment, is doing really well. And that's a good friend of mine who is Michael Page. Now, Michael is a phenomenal athlete, but something that stands him perhaps clear of the others is his style. Now, he comes from a point fighting background. Now, in point fighting, you have to be able to cover distance really, really quickly, because it's literally one hit and one score, and the referee will stop, and that's it. Now, if you can cover distance really, really quickly, like Michael can in MMA, you can actually be a lot further away, and then obviously you can get in as quick as you can. You can hit your opponent with a stun shot, and then you can follow your combinations. And this is exactly what Michael Page is doing, and his unorthodox style is confusing a lot of the fighters that he is competing against at the moment. As you become more experienced, you'll soon realize that knowing the distance between you and your opponents isn't always enough, because chances are they know how to do it as well. So what you need to do is you need to be slightly ahead of the game. And what I mean by that is you need to be able to give false distances. And what I mean by false distances are, you basically give the impression to your opponent that you're closer than you actually are, or you're maybe further away than you actually are. Now, to do this is very simple. You just simply adjust your body position and your weight distribution. So if I'm fighting with somebody and I'm in a fighting stance in this position, you can see that my weight distribution is in the middle of my feet where it should be. However, if I lean forwards with my head, which is the target that they want to hit usually, but I put my weight distribution on my back leg, I adopt this position. So you can see from this position now, it looks like my head is slightly closer to them. So when they hit, or they think they can hit me, they punch out, it's very easy for me, because of my position, just to simply move back out of the way. Now, as a boxer, you'll see that Floyd Mayweather did this brilliantly, and he made his opponents miss and then hit them with counters. Because basically, once that person has hit, they've committed to that shot. So you've moved because you know it's coming, and then you can counter with whatever shots that you want. Now, you can do the opposite. You can give the impression that you're closer to your opponent than you actually are. So to do this, very simply again, you would lean your head and your torso away, but you'd have your weight distributed on your front leg. Now here, your opponent will think, okay, well, I can't hit them because their head's too far away from me, so that must mean that they can't hit me. However, because my knee is slightly bent and my weight is distributed forwards, it's very easy for me to move forwards and to explode forwards and obviously hit my opponent when they're not aware that I am actually in that distance that's close enough to hit them. Now, there's many things that I could tell you, many tricks that I could tell you on ways that you can control distance, ways that you can creep in, ways that you can creep out. But some of them are a little bit sport specific. So what I wanted to do today was basically just show you and tell you that if you're involved in any kind of combat sports, from boxing through to judo, through to kickboxing, through to taekwondo, whatever it might be, if you can control the distance, chances are you can control the fight. So that's it, that's my 5th vlog wrapped. I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously today I was being a little bit more specific, and I was probably talking to my fighting friends a little bit more and people who are involved in combat sports. But that's my background, so of course some of my videos are going to be about that. But as I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please do share this video and tell your friends to come and subscribe to my channel, and I will be back with my 6th vlog, same time next week.